The studio was bright, every light gleaming against the polished surfaces, cameras lined up, crew members poised like soldiers in anticipation. Taehyung sat quietly in the middle of it all, phone in hand, his fingers tapping nervously on the screen as if the motion could somehow anchor his racing heart. It was supposed to be just another segment, a light-hearted show for fans, but that moment, a single notification blinking innocently on his phone, shifted everything. A message from Jungkook. One word was all it took, urgent. Taehyung's pulse hammered in his ears. He hesitated, thumb hovering over the screen, the studio sounds dimming in his awareness. He knew Jungkook didn't text during filming unless it was serious. Never. His chest tightened, the familiar warmth of anticipation mixed with an icy fear creeping up his spine. With a careful, almost reluctant swipe, he opened the message. "Hey Young, I can't stay silent anymore. I have to tell you the truth before someone else does. Please don't hate me when you find out." Even reading those first words sent a tremor through him. Taehyung's breathing became shallow, uneven. His lips parted slightly, as if to form a response, but no words came. The camera operators, sensing something was off, froze mid-motion. Crew members exchanged uncertain glances, trying to remain professional, yet the tension in the room was palpable, almost suffocating. The message unfolded like a slow-motion revelation, paragraphs carefully crafted, each line pressing into Taehyung's chest with the weight of a confession long overdue. Secrets they had buried together, moments they thought forgotten, emotions they never dared speak aloud. Every sentence was a blade twisting in the hollow space of his heart. Tears welled instantly, blurring his vision. He gripped the phone so tightly his knuckles turned white, shoulders trembling with each rapid inhalation. The sobs that erupted from him were sudden, raw, uncontrollable. They rolled through him, shaking his entire frame, spilling into the sterile silence of the studio. Every lens, every crew member captured it, but no one moved to intervene. None could stop the tidal wave of emotions crashing over Taehyung. A producer stepped forward hesitantly, voice barely audible. "Turn off the cameras now." It was the only command that made sense, the only attempt to preserve whatever dignity was left. But Taehyung was beyond that now. He couldn't breathe properly, couldn't think clearly. Only Jungkook's name and the words glowing on his phone existed in that moment. His tears fell freely, sliding down his jaw, mingling with the sweat that had sprung from the intensity of the emotions coursing through him. He remembered flashes, late nights in the dorm, whispered conversations, laughter shared in secrecy, fleeting touches that carried more meaning than words could ever hold. And then, the part of the message that made the world shift beneath him. Jungkook had admitted everything, the hidden burdens, the sacrifices, the moments of fear they never shared. Taehyung's chest heaved violently, his sobs cutting through the air like a storm breaking over glass. The crew moved instinctively, forming a human shield around him, hands offering towels, water, and soft reassurances, though their voices barely reached him. Taehyung's eyes, red and swollen, reflected the screen, the words inscribed not just on the device but searing into his memory. "I did it to protect you. I hope someday you'll see why." The weight of those words made him shiver. He wanted to argue, to scream, to tell Jungkook that protection didn't have to mean carrying it all alone, yet the sound caught in his throat. His tears became a torrent, a physical manifestation of the trust, love, fear, and anger intertwining inside him. Every heartbeat echoed the truth. They had never been more honest with each other, never more exposed. As the room gradually quieted, only the soft patter of Taehyung's sobs remained. The cameras were off, the lights dimmed, yet the intensity lingered like smoke, an invisible charge in the air. He leaned forward, phone clutched to his chest, whispering Jungkook's name repeatedly, a mantra of both desperation and connection. Staff and crew hovered, helpless and reverent, witnessing the unfiltered humanity of one of the brightest stars breaking in real time. And then the second wave of messages came, the urgency escalating, bringing with it a new layer of dread. Taehyung's fingers trembled as he tapped open another notification, the weight of responsibility pressing down like a leaden weight. The narrative, once private, was now on the cusp of becoming public, and the path forward, unclear, was strewn with the debris of fear and vulnerability. Each message was a pulse, each word a reminder of the stakes they faced, not just for themselves, but for those they cared about. Taehyung could feel the walls of the studio closing in, the hum of the lights merging with the echoes of his own emotions. It was a maelstrom, a perfect storm of truth, secrecy, and the unshakable bond between him and Jungkook. At some point the sobs slowed, giving way to a ragged, uneven breathing, the sort that precedes clarity after chaos. Taehyung lifted his head, red eyes glimmering in the soft studio light, voice a broken whisper. "Jungkook, I understand." It was not just comprehension, it was acceptance, a readiness to face whatever consequences lay ahead. And as the staff carefully guided him out of the studio, away from prying lenses and invasive light, the first faint glimmer of hope emerged. For all the weight of the truth, for all the intensity of the emotions, one thing remained unbroken: the connection between them, raw, unfiltered, and utterly unshakable. The ride back to the dorm was silent, but the silence was thick, suffocating, a physical presence pressing against every chest in the car. Taehyung sat rigid, fingers still entwined with Jungkook, eyes fixed on the passing city lights. Each reflection on the window was distorted, a kaleidoscope of memory, fear, and regret. Hasek held the steering wheel tightly, knuckles white, occasionally glancing at them in the backseat, sensing the storm still raging inside. Seokjin, seated in the front passenger seat, muttered under his breath, a mix of frustration and worry, his eyes darting between the rearview mirror and the road. Taehyung's breaths were uneven, his heart a drumbeat that seemed to echo through the small confines of the vehicle. The text messages from Jungkook replayed in his mind, line after line, confession after confession, each more piercing than the last. "I did it to protect you, I hope someday you'll see why." The words repeated like a mantra that burned both warmth and ice into his chest. He pressed his forehead against the window, willing himself to stay calm, willing the world to stop spinning. But the world refused to pause. Notifications buzzed relentlessly on his phone, a cascade of messages, unseen yet unavoidable, the weight of 1,000 eyes pressing down. Taehyung tried to ignore them, but each vibration sent a jolt through his body, each notification a reminder that the private had become public, or at least dangerously close. By the time they reached the dorm, night had deepened, and the street lamps cast long, trembling shadows on the pavement. Jungkook was already outside, hoodie pulled low over his eyes, standing as if rooted to the spot by fear and anticipation. As the car door opened, Taehyung's legs moved on their own, carrying him forward, fists pounding against Jungkook's chest, a mixture of anger, desperation, and relief that was almost painful to feel. "How could you?" Taehyung's voice was raw, guttural, breaking under the weight of suppressed emotion. "How could you do this to me, to us?" Jungkook's arms wrapped around him tightly, firm yet trembling, as though the act of holding Taehyung could anchor both of them against the chaos threatening to consume them. "I'm sorry," he whispered, voice shaking. "I thought it was the only way. I'm so sorry." Hasek and Seokjin hovered, careful not to intrude, but their presence was steadying, grounding. Even in this storm of emotion, their loyalty remained unwavering, a silent promise that they would shield them from the world's prying eyes as best they could. Taehyung's tears fell freely now, unchecked, his body shuddering with every sob. Memories clawed their way to the forefront. Late-night practice sessions, whispered confessions, the unspoken bonds that had tied them together for years. And then the Tokyo night, the memory so raw, so vivid, it made his chest tighten painfully. He remembered the alley, the shouting, the fear, the shadows moving in malicious intent. How they had run, how the panic had fused them together in ways that left permanent marks. Jungkook's voice broke through the memories. "They sent me pictures, T. Someone's threatening us. If we don't confess, they'll release everything, all of it." The words hit Taehyung like a punch. He felt his knees weaken, his stomach knot, the air itself turning heavy with dread. The world, it seemed, had shifted, tilted on an axis that threatened to collapse beneath their feet. He sank to the ground, leaning against Jungkook, trying to catch his breath, trying to anchor himself in the only thing that remained certain, the other's presence. "Then we face it," Taehyung whispered, voice trembling but resolute. "Together, whatever comes." They were only just beginning to process the scale of the threat. Inside the dorm, the others gathered, their expressions tight with worry and tension. Namjoon's eyes scanned the room, calculating, planning. Hosok's hands fidgeted, a physical manifestation of the panic he tried to suppress. Seokjin exuded a controlled, authoritative presence, trying to steady the others while masking his own fear. Suga stood silently, arms folded, watching, analyzing, calculating the next move. Jin's voice cut through the tension. "We need to know everything. No half-truths, no secrets. We can't fight this blind." Taehyung, still clinging to Jungkook, lifted his head, red-rimmed eyes glistening. "It started in Tokyo after the fan event. We left through the back alley. Someone attacked us. We defended ourselves. I don't even remember who struck first. One of them fell. We ran." The room froze, the words hanging in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. The gravity of the confession was palpable. Everyone felt it, the fear, the guilt, the danger. The silence stretched, broken only by Taehyung's ragged breathing and the soft shuffle of feet on the floor. "Did you hurt someone?" Hosok asked cautiously, voice barely above a whisper. "We didn't mean to," Jungkook said, voice trembling. "We were scared. We called the company. They handled it, told us to forget, but now someone knows. They're blackmailing us." A collective shiver ran through the group. Namjoon's jaw clenched. "Then we have to plan carefully. There's no room for mistakes. Every move counts." Suga's sharp tone cut through the rising panic. "No police. That's the first rule. The company made it clear. Outside involvement only escalates things. We handle this ourselves." Taehyung and Jungkook exchanged a look, fear mirrored in each other's eyes but also determination. "Then we go public," Taehyung said quietly, almost to himself. "We tell the truth, no hiding anymore." Jungkook nodded, the weight of the decision pressing down on both of them. "Together," he whispered. "Whatever happens, we face it together." The group rallied, a flurry of activity erupting as phones buzzed, social media alerts chimed, and messages flew between them and their staff. Every second felt like an eternity, each notification a hammer striking fear into their hearts. Yet amidst the chaos, a plan emerged. A statement would be prepared, the truth laid bare, the story told on their terms. Hours passed in tense preparation, rehearsals of phrasing, careful selection of words, crafting a narrative that was honest but shielded the innocent. Taehyung's hand never left Jungkook's, a tether of comfort, a promise of solidarity. The gravity of their past actions weighed on them, but so did the unbreakable bond of trust and love they shared. Finally, as dawn crept over the horizon, illuminating the exhausted faces in the dim living room, the statement was ready. Typed, proofread, and ready to go live. Every finger hovered above the keyboard, every heartbeat synchronized with the imminent click that would change everything. Taehyung exhaled, deep and trembling, voice barely audible. "This is it. No more hiding, no more fear. We do this together." The group nodded, a silent pact passing among them. Their lives, their careers, their reputations, everything balanced on the edge of truth. And with a final glance at each other, Taehyung clicked send. The world responded instantly. Notifications exploded, social media erupted, and every eye that could see was now on them. The dorm doors were no longer a safe haven, the streets outside a fragile barrier against an onslaught of fans, media, and opportunists. Taehyung pressed his forehead against Jungkook, whispering over the chaos, "We're not alone, not anymore." Jungkook held him tightly, murmuring back, "Never alone." And as the sun rose fully, spilling light into every corner of the room, the brothers, battered but unbroken, braced themselves for what was coming. The fight had only just begun, but for the first time in a long time they faced it together, truth, fear, and love intertwined, unshakable. The minutes after the statement went live felt like hours. Taehyung and Jungkook sat side by side on the couch, fingers still entwined, staring blankly at the flood of notifications on their phones. The dorm felt both too small and too large, walls vibrating with the weight of every incoming message, every ping a reminder that the world now knew what they had tried to keep buried. Namjoon paced, voice low but steady, issuing orders with the precision of a general in battle. Security, double-check all entrances. PR, monitor social media, track the trending hashtags. Keep legal on standby. Everyone else, stay calm but vigilant. Hoseok moved like a protective shadow, hovering near Taehyung, occasionally brushing back the stray hair sticking to his damp forehead. Seokjin's hands were folded, jaw tight, watching the room and the phones like he could control the chaos with sheer will. Suga stood by the window, cold eyes scanning the street, mind racing through every possible angle, every potential leak. Taehyung's breathing was still uneven. He pressed the back of his hand to his eyes, rubbing at the tears that refused to stop. Jungkook leaned closer, whispering, "We did the right thing, T. No one can take that away from us." "I know," Taehyung whispered, voice cracking, "but it feels like the world's collapsing on us." The front door rattled suddenly, a warning of the first wave of paparazzi and fans already gathering. Camera flashes pierced the dim light, a constant barrage of intrusion, reminding them that privacy was a luxury they no longer had. The staff quickly blocked the windows, pulling blinds and curtains, but it didn't stop the flashes from sneaking through the gaps. Namjoon's phone buzzed again and he answered quickly, his face hardened. "They're live streaming outside. The crowd is growing. We need to maintain perimeter. Don't engage. Let security handle it." He ended the call, tension radiating from his posture. "This is bigger than we expected. Much bigger." Taehyung pressed his forehead into Jungkook's shoulder, tears slipping freely. I don't know if I can handle it," he admitted, voice shaking. "All the messages, the comments, the photos, they're everywhere. What if they hate us? What if we lose everything?" Jungkook tightened his grip. "They won't. We'll face it together. You and me, T, always." Suddenly, another notification lit up Taehyung's phone, this one from an unknown number. Hesitating, he opened it. A short, simple message. "We saw your statement, you're brave, but bravery has consequences." No name, no number, just a threat dressed in cryptic words. The group gathered immediately, sensing the shift in tension. Namjoon's voice was firm. "We can't ignore this. Whoever this is, they're testing us. They want us scared. Don't give them that." Seokjin exhaled sharply. "We need a plan to control what's next. We can't just react anymore. We have to act strategically." The next few hours were a whirlwind. Legal teams drafted letters, PR strategized posts, and security mapped out patrols around the dorm. Taehyung and Jungkook stayed close, speaking in hushed tones, each reassurance from Jungkook anchoring Taehyung as his emotions threatened to spill over. Finally, the first video leaks hit social media. Grainy clips of the Tokyo incident, shadowed, unclear but unmistakable. The sound of shouting, the scuffle, the terror in their younger voices. Fans, commentators, and media outlets exploded in discussion. Conspiracy theories, rumors, and outright judgment flooded timelines. Taehyung's hands shook as he held the phone, eyes scanning the clips. His chest tightened, fear and shame colliding with relief. They were finally facing the truth, but it was raw, public, and unforgiving. Jungkook rested a hand on his shoulder. "It's okay, we can do this, together." Namjoon gathered everyone in the living room, a sense of command returning amidst the chaos. "We need to address this publicly, as a group. Our statement is clear, but we need to be united when we talk to the media, the fans, the company. Anyone trying to divide us will fail if we stand together." Hoseok's voice was soft but firm. "T, don't let the comments get to you. Focus on the truth, the people who matter." "We're all here." Taehyung nodded weakly, swallowing hard. He had never felt more vulnerable, more exposed. And yet, the solidarity of the people around him, the unwavering support from Jungkook, anchored him. Hours passed in a blur of preparation and anticipation. The team rehearsed Q&A scenarios, prepared for hostile reporters, planned responses to possible blackmail escalation. Yet, no amount of preparation could erase the emotional toll. Taehyung's tears returned intermittently, each wave leaving him exhausted but determined. By late night, a final briefing took place. Namjoon's voice carried the weight of authority and reassurance. Tomorrow, we face the media together. We tell our story, not as victims, not as villains, but as people who made mistakes, learned from them, and are ready to stand in the light. Everyone clear. Every head nodded, a silent vow passing between them. Taehyung exhaled, relief mingled with anxiety. "We're really doing this," he murmured. "Yes," Jungkook whispered, leaning close. "And no matter what, we face it together, always." Outside, the night pressed against the dorm like a living thing, restless and watchful. Inside, 7 brothers huddled together, the weight of their shared past, the terror of exposure, and the promise of solidarity shaping every heartbeat. As the first light of dawn crept in through the blinds, illuminating tired, tear-streaked faces, a sense of grim determination settled over the room. They were about to step into a storm, but for the first time, they would do it as one, truth in their hands, courage in their hearts, and each other as their shield. The sun had barely risen, yet the dorm was already buzzing with tension. Phones rang incessantly, notifications pinged without pause, and the team's eyes flicked from one screen to another, scanning for signs of escalation. Taehyung sat slouched on the couch, Jungkook beside him, holding his hand like a lifeline. Their bodies pressed together, trying to share the weight of a world suddenly turned hostile. Namjoon paced the living room, coffee in hand, muttering to himself as he reviewed the latest updates. The Tokyo incident hashtag is trending globally. The video clip has gone viral. News outlets are dissecting every second, every shadow, every movement. We need control now. Seokjin, usually calm and collected, rubbed at his temples. Control, in a storm like this, control feels like an illusion. He glanced at Taehyung, who was trembling, lips pressed together, eyes darting at the constant stream of chaos on the phone. Suga, standing near the window, arms crossed, voice low, cold, and precise, cut through the tension. "Then we stop reacting to it. We act. The statement is already out. We stick to it. No deviations, no apologies beyond what we've said. Any panic now is fuel for them." Hosok crouched beside Taehyung, brushing damp strands of hair from his face. "T, listen to me. Breathe. One step at a time. Focus on us, not the flood outside." Taehyung nodded weakly, letting himself lean into Jungkook's shoulder. "I know, but it feels like the world's eyes are burning right through me." "They are," Jungkook said, his voice calm but steady. "And we're still standing. That's the point. We survive this because we do it together." The first press call was scheduled for mid-morning. Legal and PR teams huddled in the corner, whispering urgently, outlining key talking points and approved statements. Taehyung's stomach churned as he watched the minutes tick closer. Every second felt amplified, every sound from the street like a drumbeat of impending judgment. Namjoon finally gathered them all. "This is it. We go in, speak clearly, tell our truth, and leave speculation behind. We answer questions with honesty, not defensiveness. We're a team. We're united." Taehyung swallowed hard, gripping Jungkook's hand. "I'm terrified. I can't lie about that." Jungkook smiled faintly, brushing a thumb across Taehyung's knuckles. "Then don't. Fear is real, but we use it, not let it use us." As the cameras rolled in the studio room, the familiar set of lights and equipment no longer felt comforting. They were instruments of exposure now, amplifying every flicker of emotion. Taehyung's chest tightened as he saw the red record light blink, signaling the start of something irreversible. The first question came, sharp, almost accusatory. Taehyung, why did you and Jungkook wait so long to come forward about the Tokyo incident? Taehyung's voice wavered, but he lifted his gaze, meeting the interviewer's eyes. Because we were scared. We were young, we didn't know what to do. But hiding it didn't protect anyone. It only made the fear grow. We're telling the truth now together because it's the right thing to do. Jungkook added, his tone calm but firm. It wasn't easy. It's never easy to confront the past. But we owe it to ourselves, our fans, and everyone involved to face it honestly. The press fired off another wave of questions, some probing, some accusatory, some tinged with judgment. Taehyung's hands shook as he held a water bottle, eyes flicking to Jungkook for reassurance with every sentence. He answered cautiously, not hiding emotion but controlling it, showing vulnerability while maintaining composure. The flood of social media reaction intensified. Hashtags multiplied, articles dissected every word, every pause. Taehyung scrolled briefly, heart-hammering, and then allowed Jungkook to take the phone. You shouldn't see this, Jungkook said, protective. Not yet. Focus on now, not the storm outside. Hours blurred into one another. Interviews, live streams, official statements. Their days became a cycle of explanation and reassurance. Taehyung learned in real time how public scrutiny could feel like weight pressing down from all directions. Each word, each gesture was analyzed, praised, criticized, or misunderstood. Yet through it all, Jungkook stayed beside him. Namjoon guided the group. Seokjin offered calm commentary, Suga guarded against missteps, Hoseok comforted quietly, and the rest of the team ensured the message was consistent. The family they had built in BTS became their fortress. By late afternoon, a temporary lull allowed Taehyung a brief moment of reflection. He sat on the edge of the couch, staring out at the city streets below, the distant hum of sirens and chatter punctuating the air. I never thought it would feel like this, he admitted softly, Jungkook's hand finding his. It's a storm, Jungkook replied. But storms end, and when they do, we're still here, stronger because we faced it together. Namjoon approached, placing a hand on Taehyung's shoulder. You're doing more than surviving. You're leading by truth. That's more powerful than any rumor, any threat, any blackmail. The next wave of messages arrived, some from fans expressing support, others from media outlets demanding more detail. Taehyung's phone vibrated incessantly. Jungkook held it firmly. We'll respond together when we need to, not before, not to feed fear. Evening descended. The first day of public reckoning came to a close. The dorm, once a place of rest, had become a command center, a battleground, and a sanctuary all at once. Taehyung finally allowed himself to slump against Jungkook, exhaustion overtaking him. Tears slipped again, but this time with less fear and more relief. We did it, he whispered. We told the truth. Yes, Jungkook replied, voice soft, carrying a mixture of pride and love. And no matter what happens next, we face it together, always. Outside, the city lights blinked like stars caught in concrete and glass. The world had seen their truth, and though it was just the beginning, Taehyung realized something profound. Vulnerability could be terrifying, but shared courage was unstoppable. As the night deepened, the 7 members huddled together in the living room, heads bowed, phones silenced temporarily, and hearts aligned. They had survived the first storm. The journey ahead would be unpredictable, intense, and unforgiving, but they would face it united. Morning broke over Seoul, casting a pale light across the dorm, but sleep had eluded the group entirely. The night's adrenaline had been replaced by a heavy, pervasive anxiety. Every phone ping, every knock at the door made Taehyung flinch. Jungkook's hand remained firmly clasped around his, a tether grounding him as the world outside spiraled further into chaos. Namjoon had already started organizing the next phase of response. We need a coordinated schedule. Interviews, live broadcasts, fan interactions. We maintain control. We dictate the narrative, not let it dictate us, he said, his tone a mix of urgency and calm authority. The others nodded, understanding the stakes. Even a single misstep could reignite panic. Hosuk brewed coffee, quietly offering it to Taehyung, who sat rigidly on the couch. His eyes, red-rimmed and exhausted, flicked toward every shadow in the room. "It's relentless," Taehyung murmured. "Even when I close my eyes, I can feel it, every glare, every judgment, it's suffocating." Jungkook tightened his grip. "I know, but we have to remember we're together, that's our strength. Whatever comes, we face it as one." Seokjin, sitting across the room, folded his hands and exhaled slowly. "Fear is natural, panic is natural, but we can't let it control us. The truth is out there now, and hiding it would only make things worse." Outside, reporters had already gathered in a throng, cameras poised and microphones extended. The hashtag related to the Tokyo incident had surged to worldwide trending status. Fans and media alike were dissecting every move, every facial expression, every word Taehyung or Jungkook had spoken the previous day. The group moved deliberately, rehearsing the statements once more before stepping outside. Each step felt weighted, like walking through a storm of eyes and expectations. Taehyung felt his heart pounding in his chest, but Jungkook's steady presence reminded him that fear was not weakness. It was a signal, a motivator. The press line awaited them. Flashbulbs exploded, voices shouted questions in rapid succession, some polite, others confrontational. Taehyung's legs shook, but he raised his head, meeting their gaze with honesty, allowing himself to be seen as both vulnerable and resilient. "Taehyung, can you clarify the timeline of the Tokyo incident?" one reporter called. He inhaled deeply. "We were attacked after a fan event. It was chaotic, confusing. We defended ourselves, and yes, someone was hurt. It was unintentional, but it happened. We told our company and tried to move forward. Hiding it didn't solve anything, and today we're telling the truth because it's the right thing to do." Jungkook stepped forward, voice unwavering. "We've made mistakes. We were scared, young, and unprepared. But facing the truth now together is the only way forward. We're asking for understanding, not blind forgiveness, and we'll take responsibility for our actions." The crowd's energy was electric, a mix of shock, curiosity, and admiration for their courage. Flashing cameras illuminated every tear, every blink, every tremor in Taehyung's hands. It was overwhelming, yet grounding, the world seeing them in a raw, unfiltered state. After the initial statement, they retreated briefly to the dorm. Fans had started to gather outside, some shouting support, others demanding clarification. Every interaction felt like navigating a minefield, but the group moved with precision, carefully managing exposure while maintaining their humanity. Namjoon called a quick huddle. "The videos from Tokyo are out now. We need to address them directly. Avoid speculation. Stick to facts. We answer the questions we can, refuse to be baited by anything else." Taehyung's voice was small but firm. "I've been terrified for so long, but seeing all of you here, standing with me, it gives me courage. We can do this." The PR and legal teams coordinated with lightning speed. Interviews were scheduled for international outlets, statements translated accurately, and every move calculated to prevent misinformation. The tension never left the room, but the sense of solidarity was palpable. Each member leaned on one another, a living testament to trust and loyalty under extreme pressure. By afternoon, the first televised interview aired. Taehyung faced the camera, nerves palpable but controlled. Every word, carefully chosen, resonated with sincerity. Jungkook beside him provided reassurance through subtle gestures, a hand on the back, a gentle squeeze of fingers. Questions came fast. "Do you feel betrayed by the company's handling of the Tokyo incident?" Seokjin answered first, calm and measured. "We felt fear, confusion, and responsibility. The company advised us to stay silent, but hiding the truth was never our choice. We are taking ownership of our story, regardless of the pressures surrounding us." Taehyung added, voice steady despite the tremor beneath. We were young. We made decisions under duress. But telling the truth, facing the consequences, that's how we move forward. Not as idols, not as entertainers, but as human beings. Social media erupted once more. Fans flooded timelines with messages of support. Trending hashtags transformed from scandal-driven to narratives of solidarity and courage. The Tokyo incident became a conversation not only about fear and mistakes, but about accountability and resilience. Even as the digital storm swirled, the dorm acted as a sanctuary. Hoseok tended to Taehyung with quiet words, gentle gestures. Namjoon monitored updates, managing the chaos with strategic precision. Suga, ever vigilant, observed every incoming threat, every attempt to destabilize them. Seokjin offered levity when tension threatened to overwhelm. Jimin provided emotional grounding, and Jungkook, always Jungkook, remained the anchor. Evening arrived and the physical exhaustion mirrored the emotional strain. Taehyung leaned back, finally allowing himself to release some of the tension. His tears were fewer now, replaced by a mix of relief and determination. He realized the storm wasn't over. It would rage for days, maybe weeks, but he had the unshakable knowledge that he wouldn't face it alone. The night deepened, but a quiet sense of resolve settled over the group. The Tokyo incident had threatened to dismantle everything, yet through transparency, courage, and unwavering support, they had claimed the narrative, stepping into the light together. Taehyung's final words to Jungkook that night, whispered yet resolute, were simple. No matter what comes, we face it together. Night deepened over Seoul, but the dorm was far from quiet. The city lights outside reflected on the polished floors, illuminating the anxious faces of 7 young men caught in a storm far larger than themselves. Every notification on their phones made hearts skip a beat. Social media was aflame. Hashtags, rumors, debates, and support all clashing in a digital whirlwind. Taehyung sat huddled on the couch, knees drawn to his chest, fingers intertwined with Jungkook. His eyes, bloodshot and tired, scanned the messages pouring in. Some were kind, words of encouragement and love. Others were sharp, accusatory, demanding, or downright cruel. It was overwhelming, but he had learned something over the last 24 hours. He was not facing this alone. Namjoon was already at his laptop, meticulously tracking the spread of information. We have to anticipate every move. Who is orchestrating this? Is it just a fan, a hacker, or someone closer? His brows furrowed, hands moving with practiced efficiency. The calm leadership he exuded helped ground everyone else, a stark contrast to the chaos outside their walls. Jungkook leaned over Taehyung, his presence a lifeline. Don't read everything, T. Some things aren't meant for you to carry alone. Taehyung shook his head, a tremor running through him. I have to. I need to see the full picture, understand what we're up against. Seokjin poured coffee for everyone, moving with deliberate care. We're a team. Every blow is shared. Every victory, too. He gave Taehyung a soft smile, a small anchor amidst the storm. The room's energy shifted subtly, fear and panic tempered by solidarity and trust. A sudden buzz drew everyone's attention. A new video file had arrived, sent anonymously. Hands shaking, Jungkook opened it on the laptop. The footage was grainy, dimly lit, but unmistakably familiar. Young Taehyung and Jungkook, years earlier in Tokyo, cornered by a faceless man. Panic and fear radiated from the screen, their voices desperate, the sounds of struggle raw and unfiltered. Suga's face hardened. This is blackmail, pure and simple. They're trying to control us with fear. His voice, calm but steely, carried authority. We can't give in. If we do, it never ends. Taehyung pressed his palms to his face, feeling the weight of exposure settle deeper into his chest. I can't believe this is happening again after everything. His voice cracked, emotions teetering on the edge. Jungkook wrapped an arm around him. We're not letting them control us this time. Whatever they send, whatever they threaten, we face it together. Namjoon called the group together. We have three priorities: control the narrative, protect our fans, and safeguard ourselves. Nothing else matters right now. No distractions, no misinformation. We respond together as a unit. Hoseok took a seat beside Taehyung, rubbing his back gently. You're stronger than you think. Every tear, every fear, it's proof that you care. That's not weakness, it's courage. Taehyung nodded, swallowing hard, trying to let the reassurance sink in. Outside, fans had begun congregating again. Some supportive, waving banners, chanting words of encouragement. Others were inquisitive, pushing against barriers, seeking answers. Cameras from news outlets reflected the growing tension. Every movement inside the dorm was scrutinized, every expression analyzed. Taehyung scrolled through his phone. The leaks are spreading globally. It's no longer just Japan or Korea. Social media influencers, international news, they're picking it up. We need to act fast. Seokjin's gaze swept across everyone. We can't ignore the reality, but we also can't let fear dictate our choices. Every statement, every action must be deliberate. That's the only way we stay in control. Jungkook pulled Taehyung close, whispering, "Look at us. Look at this group. Nothing, no threat, no rumor, no video can break this bond. Not today, not ever." Taehyung's tears spilled again, but this time they were not just a fear. They were a release, an acknowledgement that even in the darkest hour, he had allies who would not abandon him. The legal and PR teams coordinated from nearby rooms. Calls rang off the hook, requests for clarification, offers of assistance, urgent advice. Namjoon filtered the critical information, while Hoseok and Suga managed the dorm security and monitored outside activity. Every piece of intelligence mattered. Every second counted. The boys huddled together on the couch as a new alert came in, an anonymous threat, this time more explicit. $500,000 by midnight or the footage goes viral globally. No exceptions. Time is ticking. The room fell silent. Taehyung's hands clenched tightly around Jungkook's. They think money will stop us. They don't understand who we are, what we've survived. His voice was low, determined, filled with a fiery resolve that had been building silently. Namjoon leaned forward, eyes sharp. We don't negotiate with fear. We own the truth. We face it head-on. That's the only way to protect ourselves and everyone we care about. A surge of determination rippled through the group. Jimin's voice, gentle yet firm, broke the silence. We've hidden for too long. We've let fear dictate our lives. Not anymore. We tell the story as it is. Together. No compromises. Hoseok checked every security camera, every angle. No sign of them inside, but they're persistent. The outside world is watching, but our perimeter is secure. For now. Seokjin exhaled, glancing at Taehyung. This is bigger than any of us imagined, but you're not alone, not now, not ever. The boys gathered in the living room, forming a circle, hands linked. Even amidst exhaustion, despair, and uncertainty, there was a shared sense of unity. Every decision, every statement would be made collectively. Every challenge would be faced as one. A final message arrived, this time on Taehyung's phone, a single line of text. "You can't hide anymore, we're watching." He stared at it, then looked around at the group. Jungkook's gaze met his, steady, unwavering. Taehyung took a deep breath, squaring his shoulders. "Let them watch," he said quietly, voice gaining strength. "We're not hiding, we face this together, always." The rest of the night was spent preparing statements, rehearsing responses, and reinforcing security. Every knock, every alert, every notification was met with calm precision. Exhaustion tugged at their limbs, but resolve anchored their spirits. Outside, the world waited. Social media, news outlets, and fans watched for every update. But inside the dorm, 7 young men faced their fears, united, unbroken, and unafraid to confront the storm head-on. As dawn crept over the horizon, painting the city in hues of gold and silver, Taehyung allowed himself a small, tentative smile. He was still afraid. He still had doubts, but he was no longer alone in the fear. And in that, he found an unshakable strength, a strength that would carry them through whatever came next. The fight was far from over, but for the first time, Taehyung knew they would endure, together.